and we are the Pattern Queens, and welcome to this special Valentine's Day edition of our Stitch With Us video. It is February 14th, and here we are spending Valentine's Day with you all.
Awesome. Yes, and this is, I got a surprise for my husband. He's out of town, so I'm sharing my Valentine roses with you this morning.
Those are so pretty.
Thank you. I love them. This is like the prettiest color.
Yeah, he did a good job.
Yeah.
Those are pretty. So anyway, welcome to the Stitch With Us. So on the second and fourth Sundays of the month, Laura and I work on a project from start to finish most of the time. And I am working on this beautiful little thing. It's called R2D2, and it's from Spot Colors. And I'm using everything that came in the kit, including the hoop. And here's where I am right now. Almost got the gray finished up on R2D2. Hopefully I can finish that gray today. You
are doing so good. I am working on a piece called Sunflower Bookmark from the Workbasket. And it's, I mean, all I have is the chart. There's nothing to see of it. And this is where I am. Let me put this behind it. This is where I am.
Very nice.
So I'm about halfway. And I guess we should say that this channel is mainly about cross stitch.
Mainly being the operative word.
Yeah.
But it's also about friendship, rambles, and lots of shenanigans. And sometimes, whenever we decide to flip the format, Laura forgets to introduce herself on the first take, and I forget that I'm supposed to say this is a channel about cross stitch.
So we help each other.
Yeah, that's, you know, between the two of us, we'll get the intro in somehow, some way. And maybe it'll be well into the video by the time we get it in. You just never know with us.
At least we haven't gotten off on too much of a tangent already this morning.
That's because we had like a half hour of tangents to go on before we...
Yes. So we got ready to film, and groceries got delivered at my house. And I've been trying to set up in the place where you're seeing all of my stuff over here. This is all the craziness. But the other way is all of the packing materials and things for the Black Needle Society. Because, yes, I live in a 900 square foot house. We run 2 businesses, and it's just more than a little crazy.
Right. Well, this is just the craziness that is my guest room / office. And, you know, it just... a lot of stuff happens. I film the videos in here, so it gets a lot of cross-stitch stuff. My husband does a bi-weekly game of Dungeons and Dragons with his friends, so then like all of his stuff is in here for that. And we haven't had guests in a while, so the guest bed is just has all of our junk on it now. All right, so last time we did one of these videos, we answered questions that were asked by our friend Michelle in the comments. If you have questions for us, leave them in the comments. We'll answer them next time. But our friend Felicity, hi Felicity, commented on that video and asked us, because we were talking about our favorite pizza toppings, do you start with the pointy end of the pizza first, or do you start crust first?
Well, I did reply back to her. I start at the pointy end, and most of the time, but I like the crust. I'm gluten-free, and I have found some good gluten-free alternatives. And I will oftentimes take a little bite off of the top too, because, you know, I'm working my way across, so I gotta, you know, keep it even all the way across.
I definitely start with the pointy end first, because I love the crust, and I like to save the crust for last to dip it whatever, you know, if I have like some garlic sauce or, you know, whatever, if I had a dip. And sometimes if I don't feel like eating another piece of pizza, and my husband does feel like eating another piece of pizza, I'll be like, want to give me some of your crust? Want to give some of your crust?
And that's why we make good pairs, right?
Yes, yes. Perfect. All right, so the questions that I have today, I don't know if anyone else has been seeing this on Facebook, but I have a bunch of friends who have been answering a Valentine's Day tag about their Valentine. And you and I both have Valentines. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, we can answer these questions about our Valentines. That sounds fun. So the first question is, how did you two meet?
Jeff and I both went to the local community college, and his best friend was dating one of my friends. And so we were often thrown together.
Oh, nice.
But the first day that I met him, I went to work that night and I said, hey, I met the guy I'm going to marry. He's got a girlfriend. I'm not going to break him up, but I'm going to marry him.
Oh, wow.
How about you?
That's pretty fun. Okay, so this probably doesn't count as us meeting because he doesn't remember it at all. But my husband, we lived in the same town when I was going to college, and he worked for Domino's at the time. So he delivered a pizza to my dorm, to my roommate at the time. And so he doesn't remember me because, I mean, he was working and we had never met before. But he was friends with my group of friends, and they had hung out a lot the year before. And so I told my friends, I was like, hey, I think I met your friend Timothy. I think he just delivered the pizza to my roommate. Because it's hard to miss my husband. Like, he's 6 foot tall, pretty broad, great big beard, glasses. So, you know, he's pretty distinctive looking. And so they're like, oh yeah, that sounds like Tim. And then about, I guess it was like a half a year afterwards, I moved into a duplex with some of my friends who were the mutual friends that he used to spend time with. One of which is my very best friend since I was 8. And we were throwing a party, and so we were like, well, we'll invite people that we know. And so someone invited him. He's the only guy who showed up.
Oh.
It was just a whole bunch of girls and him. And it was like a fancy dress up party. So he like came in a suit and everything. And I was like, oh, well, he's pretty handsome. And then I invited him over to the house a couple of times to play video games. And then I didn't talk to him for about a year.
Oh, wow.
But it all worked out. So that's kind of how we met. We met just through mutual college friends. And my friend Chelsea will tell you to this day that she introduced us. Which is fair enough. All right. So what was your first date?
Oh. Our first date was we had been out playing tennis with our friends that I talked about earlier, and we had decided we were going to go out to dinner, the 4 of us, and instead they managed to ditch us. They told us they were. And so Jeff and I decided that we would just go ahead and go out to the steakhouse anyway. And so we went out to dinner. You know, we got all dressed up. We went out to dinner, had a lovely evening together. And I was wearing this one-piece jumpsuit thing that was backless. And okay, this will give away part of my age. I was wearing a pair of Candies shoes. You probably don't even remember those. They were plastic, like the whole bottom of them was a plastic material with a leather strap that went across your toes. So kind of an open-toed sandal with a heel, but all plastic. We walked out the door and I don't know what was on the sidewalk, but my feet went completely out from under me, and I flopped and landed flat on my back.
Oh no.
And I just laid there and laughed. And he said he knew that that was a good sign because I just didn't have the time to be embarrassed. I was already flat on my back.
Right.
In my white jumpsuit. Yeah. So.
Well, I'm glad you're okay.
I think he was glad I laughed because it let him know that I was okay, and he didn't have to worry about trying to help somebody he really didn't know very well.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine you're on this like kind of just like thrown into this first date sort of situation, and then your date like injures themselves and you have to take them to the hospital? That would be memorable for sure.
Yes.
So our first date, I like to joke and say that we had 2 first dates because we kind of did. So before I graduated from college, we started talking to each other like pretty regularly, maybe about a month and a half before I graduated. And so we decided that we'd go on a date, and we got dressed up and we went to a restaurant in Bolivar, which I don't even think is a restaurant anymore. And it was Mother's Day.
Oh,
like all of these families all around. It was so weird. So I remember because he got like the special chicken dinner that was for Mother's Day. Like we were there on a Sunday. It was Mother's Day. And then we went back to his house, and his roommate, who's now one of my good friends, was there, and we played Super Smash Brothers on the Nintendo 64, which was like an old game even at that time. And I had never played that game before in my life. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to be very good at this game, but sure. So that was our first date. And then it was decided that we were both moving out of the area, and we're like, I don't know, we've only been on a couple of dates. We probably don't need to continue to date because long distance relationships aren't the best sometimes. And we were moving a couple of hours away from each other. And I like to joke with my husband that was completely his decision. So, but it all worked out. It all worked out. So our second first date, our second first date, I put the stitch in the wrong place and I'm trying to pull it out. It's not working out very well. Our second first date, we met in the middle of where we were living, and we went and saw the movie The Wolverine, which it was okay. I really like comic book movies. We've had this discussion before on here. And we're both pretty big nerds, and so we went and saw that. And so that was our second first date, was just going to that movie. We both drove about an hour and a half to go see a movie together, and that's all we did. We didn't even like go out to eat or anything afterwards. But it was fun.
That's funny because, so mine doesn't actually really count as a date because we didn't plan it. My second first date was also a movie, and I was working as a waitress, and Jeff came and picked me up from work, and we went and saw Victor Victoria. It's a Julie Andrews and Robert Preston movie.
Okay.
And was hysterical. And Jeff does not really enjoy musicals, and there's a lot of music in it.
Yeah. It's funny, we joke that that Wolverine has blessed our relationship. So the very first that date was seeing the Wolverine. The next Wolverine movie that came out that was just focused on Wolverine was Logan, and that actually came out like a couple weeks after we got married. So it's the first movie that we saw together in the theater as a married couple.
Awesome.
So it's one of our nerdy things that we like to talk about. Okay, the next question is, how long have you been together?
Wow. We have been, come on. We have been married since 1986.
Wow.
And we were together for 5 years before that.
Wow.
4 years before that.
Oh. Nice. So you've been together a long time.
Yeah. So that would be what, 30. We've been together for like, I can't even do math, Keisha.
Over 30 years is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Timothy and I are actually celebrating our 4th wedding anniversary this coming week. And in July, we will have been together for 8 years.
Wow.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like quickly doing math for you because I just can't do it today. So we've been together. We met right about this time. We've been together for 35 years.
Wow.
And we'll have our 35th anniversary in April.
Mm-hmm.
And we have been together then for about 39 years.
Wow.
So
amazing.
I was a child bride.
And no one will say any different, Laura. Okay, the next question is, what is your age difference with your husband?
We are 2 years and 9 months. He's 2 years and 9 months older than I am.
Got you. Timothy is 2 months and 3 days older than me.
Wow.
So we're pretty close in age. So it's kind of funny because I'm 31. So our goal was to have our first baby by the time we were 30. And I made that goal, but Timothy didn't quite make that goal. I made it by 6.
So you're just 2 months. Okay. But you are the same age as my daughter, and you are younger from the 8th to the 31st, to the 31st. Yeah.
Okay. So 23 days.
Because I was sitting here and I'm like, so we've been together longer than you've been alive. Well, yeah, because you're the same age as my daughter.
Right. Well, I think you've already answered this question, but who was interested first?
Well, I think
you knew you were going to marry him as soon as you saw him.
Yeah, I had that intuitive feeling. So probably me. Especially since he already had a girlfriend.
Right. Yeah, it'd be kind of bad if it was the other way around, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure I was interested in Timothy first, since I was trying to get him to come over to my house to play video games to start a relationship, and he dated another person around that time. Started dating another person. So that's okay. Things work out the way they're supposed to work out. So. And I mean, he's incredibly handsome, so of course I was interested first. All right. Who's taller?
Jeff is taller. He's about 6 foot, although I think he's shrunk a little. Right. And I am currently 5'5".
Yeah, Timothy's taller than me. He's 6 foot and I am 5'3" if I stretch up a little bit. I'm probably more like 5'2.5", but I give myself the extra inch.
Gotta do that.
Right. So hopefully James is a little bit taller because man, being short, I guess there are some upsides to being short because then you could be like, can you please get me this thing off of a really high shelf? You don't really have to reach for things unless you're by yourself, and then you need a step ladder. So,
Or a grabber.
right. Who said I love you first?
Actually, I think I did because, and it was kind of it slipped out.
Uh-huh.
We were playing tennis and I was serving and I said, love, love, and you too.
Oh,
And
cute.
I'm like, oh, what did I just say? I'm not supposed to say it. They get scared.
That's so cute, though. I 100% was the one who said I love you first, and I said it on purpose, and he didn't say it back.
Oh,
Which is, I mean, it's fine because he's like, I found out like he hadn't really said that to anybody before, so like,
oh.
and so it was kind of a big thing, and he didn't want it to say it and it be like a hollow sort of sentiment. He didn't just want to do it as like a reactionary.
Uh-huh.
That's okay. We're married, so obviously he said it later.
Yeah.
But like, so, and of course, like I'm me, so I'm very open about everything I'm feeling. So whatever I left that week, because I'd like come and visit him in Kansas City on the weekend and then go home. So whenever I left, I was like, oh, I don't care if you're not going to say it. I love you anyway. And then I left. And then like the next week, I'm about to leave and I'm like, I love you. And then he's like, Keisha, I have been missing an opportunity. And I'm like, what do you mean you've been missing an opportunity? And he's like, so the last time you said that to me, whenever you said I love you, I should have just said I know.
Yeah.
And then he's like, but I'll just say I love you too. And I'm like,
Oh.
no.
So Jeff sent me flowers today for Valentine's Day, and he wrote on the card something that I said to him, no, that he said to me, and then I teased him about. We were out driving one day, and he said, I love you, plain and simple. And I said, oh, ugly and stupid. And, it tickled him. Katie's having sneezing fits over here. It's morning stuff. We already stopped once, so we're just gonna keep going. Bless you, Katie. But yeah, so ugly and stupid is just a fun thing. So on the card he wrote, I love you, plain and simple.
That's so funny. Let's see. There are a lot of questions, so I'm trying to pick the good ones.
I just got a knot.
Oh no.
Hate that.
So who would you say is the most competitive?
That's a hard one. Katie thinks it's me. Did you see her finger come into frame?
I did see it.
We do play, okay, so we do play family game night and stuff. And definitely I like to be on the winning side, but I do try to, as long as we've played a good game, I'm generally fine. As long as, we've had a good night with things. There are times when, like, Katie, the last time we played, what do we call it? The dice game. And Katie could not roll what she needed to save herself. I don't think she ever even got on the board.
Oh gosh.
That was Bree who did it that time? Okay. So it's, that's very frustrating. And I hate for anybody to not be having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. How about you guys?
Oh, hold on. She actually will tell the other team how, like, that they're making a wrong move, too.
See, this is why I'm glad my kid doesn't talk yet. He'd tell all on me.
I was waiting for what was going to come out there, so.
I'd say probably Timothy is the most competitive, but I'm pretty competitive. But Timothy comes from a family where his dad doesn't let children win at games because they need to learn that losing is part of life.
Wow. Okay.
The Guthrie men are competitive men.
I do know, like, when we are stitching, if we say, like, okay, I know a little bit of your competitive comes out, not like you're competing against me with stitching, but when I said, hey, why don't we take a step back and like split these and do, give ourselves a little more time. You have been on a massive stitching streak. And I'm like, I don't know if that just freed you up to be able to stitch. And
well, I think I have kind of restructured my stitching time around the time that we decided to do that. I started keeping track of my stitches more and counting things out and setting goals for myself, since I don't have as much, just like, I can't go and sit and stitch for, hours at a time uninterrupted anymore, unless I do that at like 2 a.m. So I've just been setting goals. So I've really been competing with myself.
Right.
So
that's a good way to put it, because that's exactly what I mean. I think that you and I both look for ways to be more successful with our stitching.
Yeah. And because, you can just like think abstractly, like, oh, I'm going to work, and do, work on for so many hours. But I feel like I am more productive when I say to myself, okay, I'm going to do this many stitches today, or I am going to finish up such and such motif today. And then, of course, I have to give myself a little bit of grace because I don't always get the time, that
Right.
I'd like, which is fine, because I'd also really like to spend time with my kid. So it's fine. But I feel like I sometimes jinx myself in these videos. So, last week I was like, oh yeah, I put in all of these stitches on this one day. And then the next day, poor James. So he started cutting one, like he had one tooth that was popping through last week. Now he has another tooth popping through, and it made him feel sick. So he's had like a runny nose, and it's been hard for him to like eat comfortably, and he doesn't want me sucking the snot out of his nose. And so really, like, the beginning of this week, I hardly had any time to devote to stitching, because it was all, all of my free time was kind of gone, since I had to spend a little bit more time with him, which again is fine. But I was like, I went from being like, oh yeah, I'm kind of in a rhythm and stuff like that. It's just like every time, whenever I'm like, oh yeah, James is starting to sleep well, then he decides not to sleep well that next day. So I think he listens.
And I do think we're both really good at competing with ourselves to get more stitching done.
Yeah, for sure.
And you count things out, and I mean, I listen to different things that you say, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But like, you gave me one of these little counters. I love it.
Oh, I'm glad you're liking it.
I mean, I just think it's fabulous. So
I think it's kind of fun because we were talking before we started the video about how you did like a whole bunch of stitches yesterday, but looking at your project, you wouldn't think that you had done that many stitches.
Right.
So I
Right.
think,
So I feel very much more successful with the number
right.
than I did with looking at it.
Yeah. And I think that was, I mean, I've always kind of liked, because I like stats and I like knowing how productive I've been, and I'm just kind of that way. But I think with some of the stitching groups on Facebook where you count your stitches and things like that, I think that really opened my eyes to like how long it takes me to do that many stitches and what that many stitches actually looks like on a project.
Yeah.
I forgot to hit my buttons.
Yeah, I forgot a while ago and I thought, oh, I know what color I'm on. I'm just going to pre-count and put them in. I either do it at the beginning or the end if I'm, you know, if I forget. I pre-count the next group and.
Let's see. So, who usually plans your date nights?
Oh my, with COVID, you know, I don't know that we've had date nights. But Jeff and I had reestablished that we needed to have some date nights. And he likes to be the one who plans them. I can sometimes make, can you see Bella?
Yes.
She's
a cat among the flowers.
Don't you? So he likes to be the one to plan the dates. I can sometimes make suggestions and say, hey, you know, like it would really be fun to have an all-day trip. We do a lot of planning together. If we think about that we're going to have an all-day date, then we'll talk about what we would like to do, and we'll each come back with ideas and then decide together.
Yeah. Timothy is definitely the date planner. He likes doing that. He likes planning out different things. And I kind of miss it. This year, we definitely didn't do it because everything was canceled due to COVID, but we always get season tickets to to Starlight Theater. So it's this big outdoor theater space, and they run like a Broadway season during the summertime. And we have, I think the first year that we were together, the first couple of years we were together, we saw a few shows there, and then we've been season ticket holders there for like over 5 years now. Like before we even got married, we're like, this is something we're doing. So, so we would spend the entire day together that day. So we'd go down to the river market, which if you are ever visiting Kansas City, go to the river market. There's like a lot of fun shops and fun places to eat and fun things to look at. So we'd go down and we'd eat lunch somewhere in the river market. And then we'd go to a museum. So usually either Nelson Atkins, because that's a great museum, or the Modern Art Museum. And then we'd go see a play. And that was how we spent a lot of our Fridays in the summertime, is doing that.
Awesome.
So that's kind of the sort of thing that we like to do. But we, so there's been a lot of discussion with having a baby, just like, well, and I mean, COVID, we can't really go out and feel super safe going out places. So we're like, all right, we've got to establish like a time to like have dates, because all of our time is pretty well centered on James. So like Friday, put James to bed, and we just played video games together. We just sat and played video games, and that was kind of nice because we've just been kind of like, okay, James is asleep. We're just gonna sit on the couch and just veg and not really do something to, you know, together. but we played video games together and it was nice. And we stayed up way too late. And then we woke up at 6:30 the next day and we're like, look at us. We're old. We're waking up at 6:30. We stayed up until 3 a.m. playing video games. What is wrong with us? So. Okay. What is the furthest you two have traveled together?
Well, I'm trying to think which would be further. For our 20th anniversary, we went on a Caribbean cruise. So we left from Florida and went to St. Martin, St. Thomas. I was trying to think where else. And we went to the private island also. So that was a pretty good distance for us. But we also made a fall trip up the Canadian coast. But that was with all of us. So the Caribbean cruise was for our 20th anniversary.
Nice. So I think, I'm not really sure what is further away, but I'm going to say probably the furthest we've been away together is to Belize. So we went there. That was one of our stops on a cruise, and that was great. Also, so I don't know, I know that you looked at the comments on the last Stitch with Us. A lot of people who commented were like, I love cruises.
Yes. They loved listening to us talk about our cruise experiences.
So good. I mean, it's and we talked about this the last time, of the vacations that we've had, like I've really enjoyed cruises just because they take you where you need to go. And
right, everything is taken care of for you. I love that. I did tell Katie that there were comments that maybe Black Needle Society should do a cruise. So
that would be fun.
Years and years from now, I'm sure.
Right. That would be fun. Just make sure you pick one of those cruise lines where they have fun things for children. That way James and his dad can go do fun things. Well, I come. Let's see. Trying to find a last question here. Oh, I guess I'll just kind of go off of that. What's the best date your husband's ever planned for you?
That's so hard, Keisha. We've been together so long.
I know. Okay, what's one of the best dates? It doesn't have to be the best one.
Okay, I'm going to tell you one of the funniest, most memorable dates. We got a couple that are really... Our anniversary always seems to have some sort of crazy snafu. One year, Jeff planned that we were going to go to this bed and breakfast up in Weston, and we were going to stay up there, and there's all sorts of stuff to do up there. We stayed at this place that had different rooms themed for different historical people. And we chose the Irish room. We both have some Irish heritage, and we thought, well, that would be just really cool. So we get there, and at the counter there were all of these postcards that showed the rooms that are in the house, and they're just beautiful, so cool. We're just so excited to go, right? So they take us up to our Irish room. Our Irish person that they based this on was the name of the place, and he had lived during the potato famine.
Oh, you got a potato famine room?
We got a really sparse room. I mean, if the other rooms had all of this like luxury and comfort and everything else, and we got this sparse room.
That's amazing.
It was hysterical. And, you know, we didn't let that spoil anything. And the next morning, we went down to the breakfast portion of the bed and breakfast. And the table was pretty well full. There was a spot kind of in the middle, and these people said, "Oh yeah, come sit here, come sit here." We all had to sit at one table together. And it was this Italian family who were getting together for a big family celebration. And they had everybody there. They were such a big family that they had rooms in our bed and breakfast, and they had rooms in another bed and breakfast up there as well. And the great thing was that the mom was there, and she was talking to us and, you know, grilling us about how many children we had and, you know, this, that, and everything else. And at that point, we only had Katie. And, you know, we said that we had Katie, and she said, "Oh, you can have girl babies. If you could have girl babies, you should have 10. So they just adopted us into their family and treated us like we were just part of them. And, you know, we got all of the advice from them and everything else. So
That's nice.
it was funny. And then another funny one is that Jeff planned on our anniversary again for us to go to, we went out to dinner someplace nice, and then we went to the movies. And when we got to the theater, I'm like, "Oh, that's what you're taking me to see? I'm so excited." And he's like, yeah, oh, good. I thought you would like this. And we got home later, and, you know, he never said another word about it. We got home later. The movie that we had seen was Mamma Mia. Remember that Jeff doesn't really like musicals.
Yeah. Oh, that's so nice.
He didn't know it was a musical. He had looked at the cast and thought, "Oh, this will be great."
Yeah, who doesn't want to watch a Meryl Streep movie?
It was so funny. And then he's like, he said he was sitting there, and the first scene starts, and it's someone singing, and he thought, "Oh no, what have I chosen for us?"
And that's not just a musical, it's a let's get all of the ABBA music into this somehow we're singing all the time sort of
Yes. Yes.
That's so funny. Yeah, we also have a lot of just random little disasters that happen to us. Which is because, I mean, my husband is one who just like so carefully plans everything. But one of my favorite things is our repeated attempts at seeing the Rose Garden at Loose Park. It's never happened for us. So we, the very first time that we ever went to Loose Park, we were, and I guess this is a story that will make sense more to people who have come to Kansas City or have been to Kansas City. So we started in Westport, and we decided that we were going to go for a walk. And Timothy's like, "Oh, the plaza's not too far from here." So we went to the plaza, and we walked the entire length of the plaza up the huge hill all the way to Loose Park. It was January. I mean, it was like an unseasonably warm day in January. Like, guys, this is a really steep hill and like a really long way to walk. So we get to Loose Park, and it's a beautiful park. We walk all around, and we discover that they have a rose garden. And so we go in there, and of course, it's January. There aren't any roses in bloom there. But we're like, okay, this will be the perfect, I mean, we're going to have to come whenever these roses are in bloom sometime. And we left our car in Westport, so we had to walk all the way back.
Oh gosh.
luckily it was downhill. So that was a pretty exhausting one. And then in June that year, we're like, okay, we're going to go to Loose Park. We're going to see these roses. And so we get there, and there's a wedding happening there.
Oh.
So we didn't get to walk around and look at all the roses. We could see them from afar, and we're like, oh, these roses look beautiful. So didn't get to see the roses that time. Then one April, Timothy decided that we should go to the rose garden. And things were like budding a little bit, but not very, I mean, it wasn't really a place that you go in April to look at. We did see a couple of daffodils on our way. That was fun. And that's actually the day that Timothy proposed to me, was he was going to propose to me in that rose garden. But that thing was in bloom.
Oh.
But we saw daffodils, and daffodils are my favorite flower, and that was the flower that we used for our wedding. And then we tried to go the next April, and things were budding a little bit more, but we have never been to the rose garden and seen the actual roses when we could walk up to them like in person. So those are like our failed dates, is never being able to see the roses at the rose garden. And it's been one of these things where now we haven't seen them. They just live in a myth. And so now it's like, do we actually want to see these roses, or do we just want to keep talking about how we've never seen the roses at this rose garden? But one of my favorite dates, and Timothy and I were talking about this earlier today, because we were like, what was our first Valentine's Day like? And our very first Valentine's Day together, we, his favorite band had gotten back together for a reunion show, and they were playing in Lawrence, Kansas on Valentine's Day. So my first Valentine's Day with my husband was going to see this show with like a big group of guys from his like college. So I joked that I went from having 0 dates for Valentine's Day to like having dinner with like 10 men. My friend Melissa also went, who's married to my husband's best friend, but she wasn't off yet, so I had dinner. Like I was just the only woman with all of these men having dinner. And we went to that show, and that's how we spent our first Valentine's Day. But then the next time I came up to visit him a few weeks later, he made dinner, and we watched a movie, and so we had like a nice, like sort of after Valentine's Day. But that's also, that date will also live in a little bit of infamy, because Timothy found this recipe for this casserole that he thought would be good to make. Except for somehow he ended up not having most of the ingredients for this casserole. So we will never be able to make this casserole again. It ended up being pretty good, but it was really none of the ingredients that were called for.
We were not together on our first Valentine's Day because Jeff was away at college. Mm-hmm. And his mother worked in a flower shop, and she had been trying to get a hold of Jeff to get his order together for me, because she knew that he would want to send me something, and they just kept missing each other. I mean, it's before cell phones, so yeah. Oh, and I should tell you, his mother was the accountant for the shop.
Nice.
But so on Valentine's Day, he had been saying to me, oh, I'm so sorry, I just didn't get a chance to do anything. And then I was at work, and this delivery came for me. And it was this beautiful little crystal perfume bottle, and the stopper for it was a heart. and they had put a whole bouquet of all pretty purple flowers, my favorite
Oh.
color, in this perfume bottle. And, you know, when I got home, I'm like, it was great. I loved it. It was so pretty. And he said, can I call you back in just a minute? Sure. So we get off the phone. He calls me back, you know, a little bit later. And he said, okay, I'm going to confess to you. I did not pick that out and buy it for you. My mom had been trying to get a hold of me, knew that I would want to send you something, so she chose what to send you for Valentine's Day. So my first Valentine's Day, and I still have that little crystal bottle because it's just pretty. But yeah, so she chose my first Valentine's Day gift.
Well, that's nice. Obviously, he talked about you enough that she knew purple.
Yes. Yes.
That's good. Well, I think those are all of my questions. Unless you have anything else that you want to talk about related to Valentine's Day and your Valentine.
Wow. You know, they're just, this always stirs up like so many memories when we have these chats. So it's just fun for me that there are so many things that we can talk about. And I love the comments that we get afterwards where people are like, oh, me too. Or, ooh, tell me more about this. And it's just, that's been a fun part of doing these things, is that people say that they sit and stitch with us and they feel like they get to know us a little bit better.
Yeah, that's been kind of nice, because I mean, you know, we go on lots of tangents and things whenever we do our regular videos, but you know, we're not talking about like our best date.
Yeah. And we've had so many crazy dates. We are like really spontaneous. We had planned for our anniversary one year to go nearby. There is an Amish, a heavily Amish populated town, and it takes a little while to get up there. And we were using the GPS that we had bought, and we had said, oh, take us to, we knew there was one place in town that we could use, and we had put it in, and we're driving along, and we finally get to the place, and it's in front of some man's house, and there are like horses in the yard and cows and chickens, and we're like, okay. So the man happened to be outside, and he came over and he said, let me guess, you were trying to get this place. And we said, well, yes, we were just trying to get up to that city. And he said, I don't know what is wrong with that thing. It just always says that this is where it is. And it wasn't even the same town.
Oh, really?
So we did figure it out. We thought of another place and put that in. And the great thing is that my husband, his degree is in geography with an emphasis on cartography. So
maps are his thing.
yes. And I've always gotten to be the map reader until we entered the world where you don't have to do that anymore. But we did get up to the town. We had a great time, and we were starting to head back and reminiscing about different things that we had done on our anniversary. And the topic of the new theater came up. And so Jeff said, well, just call and see if they happen to have anything. We'll go do that tonight. So here we are, and about 2:00 in the afternoon, I call, and they said, oh yes, we just had a cancellation. So we ended up for the evening going to the new theater and having dinner and getting to see a play that night. So it was just fun because it was, you know, we just happened to be able to go, and they were really, really good seats. Somebody who was a season pass holder had to cancel for that day. So we just got lucky.
Nice. Oh man, that just made me nostalgic for, I don't know if we're talking about the same place, but I know of a heavily Amish community in northern Missouri. That was like only about a half hour away from where my grandparents lived, so we went there all the time.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love to go out there and get different things, and it's
Yeah.
fun to just go shop. And
Yeah, I'm thinking of a town called Jamesport.
yes.
Okay, so if you're in Missouri after COVID is over and you want to go to Jamesport, the Country Cupboard is one of the best restaurants in the entire world, and they'll give you a piece of pie as big as your head, which I know you're gluten free, so that's not as good as it could be, but a piece of pie as big as your head. And then next door is this place, like, I mean, we would just walk over there, called Anna's Bake Shop, and they have the best raspberry jam. The best raspberry jam. And I've been going there. Huh?
Go ahead.
Oh, and I've been going there since I was little. Like whenever I'd go up to visit my grandma in the summer, we'd always make sure that we took a trip to Jamesport and did that. And then we'd go to like the bulk food store and
Yes, that's fabulous, right?
Yep. So, oh man, and it's been a few years since I went there because now my grandma's kind of moved away from there, but it's so much fun.
Bella is still enjoying my flowers.
She likes to eat leaves.
Yes, she was trying to chew and I wouldn't let her. So today, since my husband and my younger daughter are out of town, it is just Katie and I for Valentine's Day.
Ah, so Galentine's Day.
Yes, Galentine's Day. And Katie has decided to spoil us for the weekend.
Uh-huh.
So she bought all sorts of fun treats, and she ordered in all our groceries, and they canceled it for the day that she had ordered it for, and then couldn't bring it yesterday. So we had to wait until today to get everything in.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'll get to find out what we're having for dinner. And I think there's a cake over here by her. She found a place to get gluten-free things, so I have all sorts of goodies.
That's awesome. My husband came in today and he bought just like all of the things to make a great dinner. I think we have some steaks that he's going to make, and he bought some twice baked potatoes, and I love twice baked potatoes. I saw that there's a French silk pie.
Ooh.
So I am excited for dinner tonight. And James will have the finest rice cereal that Gerber makes. So those are our plans.
Yeah, I think we'll have fun. I don't know what Katie has thought about for dinner. My best new thing of the week.
Mm-hmm.
I finally remembered to check, and yes, Oreos now come gluten-free.
That is amazing.
And our friend Beth said that she has had them and that they're pretty good. You know, gluten-free is never quite as good as the real thing, but she said that they're pretty good. So I'm excited about that.
That's awesome. I'm glad that more places are making things like that so that you can still have an Oreo, you know? 'Cause that's something I don't think about, that there are people who can't eat Oreos.
There are all sorts of strange things with gluten that I've found out since I've been gluten-free. So, but it's okay.
Oh, yeah. Luckily, Oreos, I believe, are one of the few like cookies like that that are actually vegan also. So our vegan friends can have those, because there's gelatin in so many things that you don't even think about.
And I work with ELL kids, and we have to look at what kind of gelatin is in them, because most often gelatin is made with pork.
Oh, right.
And they cannot have them. So
Yeah,
Rice Krispie treats are one of those things that are, the
right.
gelatin is, yeah.
Because of marshmallows. And that's a thing that I don't think about. You know, I know that I've seen like a lot of things that are, you know, marked as like halal and things like that. But that's just something that you don't think about a whole lot.
Right. And that same, you know, if our Jewish friends keep kosher, then that's something that they don't have either.
Right.
So.
Man, that's hard. I am putting in the last 3 gray stitches on this.
Look at you.
And then I think we might go ahead and wrap up for today so that my husband can go to sleep. He works overnight, so he stays up a little bit later on Sundays so we can do our videos. And so he needs to go to sleep. I need to go spend some time with my boy. And we don't know what we're doing today. We're probably just going to hang out and laugh at each other. That's what we usually do. I make noises, he laughs, I laugh at him laughing, and it just continues going on.
Oh, and today's a big day for him, right?
Yes, guys, if you can believe it, little James is 7 months old today. Isn't that crazy? It doesn't feel like he should be 7 months old, but it's also felt like he's been here forever, so.
Oh, okay. Nope, I'll ask you later. I don't want to ask things on camera that, yeah.
So, of course, I get a knot. Does anyone else find that whenever you're trying to finish something up, you always get a knot in your thread? And you're like, I was so close, and now I have to spend extra time getting a knot out.
Oh, absolutely. But because you're doing that, that means I'm putting in like an extra 5 stitches. So. Oh, no, I can't count, an extra 7 stitches. Counting has not been my friend this morning.
Ah. All right. Well, I think I have all of the gray on there. I had to switch out my needle. So the needle that came with the kit is fine. This is it. But I switched to my normal needle because this is really, really sharp. And whenever I stitch, I'll push up the needle so that the eye goes back up through to kind of keep the thread from twisting so much. And so using that needle, I kept poking my finger a lot.
Oh.
Like, I'm just going to switch. That'll be fine.
And of course, I'm working on perforated paper, and that's not my best friend, but I am doing my darndest here.
Well, I'm glad that you're stretching and doing something in a medium that you don't usually do.
Yeah, and it's coming out okay. I think probably that, I think I understand why you cover everything with perforated paper, because this is going to be really sheer, but I will probably back this on a piece of felt, with a piece of felt, and it'll make it come up okay.
Yeah, that'll be good.
I don't know how long we've been chatting, but I did a whole 95 stitches.
Woohoo! I did 90.
This is where I am.
Nice. Here's where I am. All of the gray's done on R2D2, so we're going to do some fill-in on him. BB-8 also has some gray, but we're going to do R2D2.
You can wait, right? Until you turn the hoop over.
Yeah, because I'm excited for some colors that aren't gray.
This puts me, I have, I really only have this bottom section left to go. I've already done the Y, I have to do the Z, and then this.
So you're going to have to get ready for a new project soon.
Probably. A couple more weeks, I think, will probably see me through this. Oh, and again today, you know, I did a letter with full crosses, which everything else is just half crosses.
That's okay. Isn't that project kind of a make it up as you go? Anyway?
It is kind of a wonky thing.
So it can be whatever you want it to be. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Hopefully this brought up some good memories of your Valentine, or if you don't have a Valentine this Valentine's Day, make sure you call your friends and do something nice for yourself, because you can love yourself too. Eat something good.
Have some fun. Watch your favorite movie.
And if you're in the Midwest or the South, stay inside. It's cold.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Well, everyone, thanks for joining us. Comment below if you have some questions that you want us to answer the next time. And we'll see you next week with a regular video, and see you the following with another Stitch with Us.
Yeah.
So, bye, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good week.